A major milestone. We've been talking about it. If you're fully vaccinated, well, you no longer need to wear a mask in most areas. Now, that's the guidance from the CDC, clearing the way for reopening workplaces, schools, and other venues that are out there. Our D.C. correspondent, both the Yee-Mom, joins us from the nation's capital this morning, and both the President Biden hoping, well, this will have an indirect effect as well, right?
Absolutely. President Biden hopes it will encourage more folks to get vaccinated after what has been a politicization of the pandemic and mask guidelines. Word of ditching the mask, that layer of COVID-19 protection in our daily ensemble, shed some major relief.
The CDC announced that they are no longer recommending that fully vaccinated people need wear masks.
At the start of the pandemic, many believed COVID-19 would disappear within weeks, maybe even a few months.
The CDC is recommending that Americans wear a basic cloth or fabric mask that can be either purchased online or simply made at home.
Masks sold out quickly, and yet it seemed the U.S. was stuck in a never-ending cycle of hospitalizations, vaccine talks, and the politics that came with all of it. Who can forget that infamous Rose Garden super spreader event?
I love the United States Constitution.
Hey, Dr. Fauci said don't wear a mask, right?
At first, but then everybody agreed.
Well, I don't know that he changed his mind. But then you have a report coming out 2 days ago that 85% of the people wearing masks catch it.
But even as then President Donald Trump spread his skepticism of science and CDC guidelines, the one thing he couldn't prevent in 2020, Dr. Fauci becoming a household name, landing more airtime than some presidential candidates, and the pressure, too.
The conflicting, confusing guidance from your agency has undermined public confidence.
Good afternoon.
Would you mind putting a mask on for us?
Yeah, when I'm talking to the TV camera, I'm not going to wear a mask, and all of us have been immunized, so.
It'd make us feel better.
You're welcome to step away if you like. The whole point of a vaccine, CDC guidance, is what we're following.
About a month after that heated exchange, the CDC said vaccinated folks don't need masks outside. Then yesterday, the president gave you perhaps the best reason to make weekend plans.
For now, after a year of hard work and so much sacrifice, the rule is very simple. Get vaccinated or wear a mask until you do.
Now, the CDC guidance still calls for wearing masks in crowded indoor spaces like buses, planes, hospitals, and homeless shelters. Mike.
But both, like you said, this matter has been politicized from the very beginning, so everybody's going to have something to say. So what are the critics saying about it?
Right. Some folks are saying, before you were too cautious, really pointing the finger at Dr. Fauci, and now you're throwing caution to the wind. So which one is it? The other criticism that they're getting is, well, now you want us to be the mask police? You want some essential workers to be pointing out who should be wearing this, how can they tell Mike, is actually fully vaccinated? So how will this actually play out? So some have been criticizing the CDC for the ongoing confusion, even with what some folks are saying, hey, this is good news, but on the other hand, look, we need to slow down for a second. Not everyone is comfortable with this, and that's why you had President Biden saying, not to really pick on folks who are wearing masks right now. We don't need that kind of conflict, but also pointing to the CDC deferring to states, local, tribal laws for what should be taking place and to follow those rules. Because remember, the CDC is a guidance. The laws are with the state, the local, and the tribal entities. So they are deferring the CDC and saying, make sure that you double check here to make sure if your state, your locality is mirroring the CDC's latest guidelines. And in Nevada, for example, Mike, I want to point out, they have all those casinos. They relaxed it immediately. But some other states like New York and New Jersey have really taken one step to say, we're going to review these latest guidelines before we implement them. So everyone who's watching this right now, you should defer to your state and your local guidelines for what is the accurate thing to do. But again, for many confusing. I think there's a lot of folks, though, who are generally excited, Mike, who are going to be looking forward to a weekend full of eating out. Restaurants are going to be excited. Whether you have a mask on or not, they're going to feel better that we're at least in some degree of normalcy, despite some of the criticism that's taking place.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Very good point about the local laws, too. If you don't know, wear a mask until you find out what your local laws dictate. Both of you, Mom, from Washington, D.C., great seeing you. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.